Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Threads of Fate. I think we had a long break. So for those of you who are just joining in, I had actually completed this game with one of the characters. So now we're going to be tackling the second character. And the reason why I did a break is because this game tragically suffers from Sonic Hero Syndrome, so lots of repeating levels, but I'm going to get more into detail about how I'm handling this, probably more so in the next video. For now, meet Mint.
Fuck, now I'm hungry.
I am hungry for some mints. Wait.
No, fuck mints. I hate mints. I mean, that food actually looked delicious.
Oh.
In all of its pixely
what, you do not enjoy the
JPEG
mint freshness?
Yeah, in all of its pixely JPEG glory.
It's like, delicious. Tastes like cheap prop.
Tastes like paper.
Alrighty, so pretty much exactly like if you remember during Rou's playthrough, we got to explore his cabin that he shared with Claire. Similar situation. We're just gonna go around. We're just gonna start eating food.
Ew, and pumpkins. Who the hell eats green pumpkins? I mean, seriously.
That's pizza. That's more pizza. That's tomato soup.
Yeah, it's like, so you pretty much just keep going around, and then eventually, you know, you'll be prompted like, okay, you're done. Like, it's usually after, like, you eat, like, 3 things, and that's about it.
It's like, okay, Mint, okay, that's enough oogling and ogling at the food, okay? Just go ahead and eat before it gets cold.
Alrighty, so, once again, if you are joining us from Rou's playthrough, you will recognize Princess Maya here. She showed up very late in Rou's story. Because Mint and Maya are sisters, expect to see a lot more Maya during Mint's playthrough.
My role? Of course I have. I'm your older sister. Oh, wait, Mint's older?
Yeah, Mint is the older sister, and she is a spoiled, rotten little bitch.
It's like, oh, I know my role in the world. My role is to take over the world.
Huh. That's some role reversal at its finest. Normally, it's the younger child that are spoiled.
Yeah, nope, Mint is the one that... Yep, Mint is the spoiled brat because, you know, she's like, oh, because I'm older, I'm entitled to everything because I'm the heir. But as we're now seeing here, so, BJ, you know how in Rou's playthrough, you were constantly asking if Mint's a princess, why is she hunting for the relic, why doesn't she have an army or anything behind her side? Basically what's happened, because her spoiled and entitlement, yeah, the council's basically had enough with her shit, and they've decided, yeah, we don't want Mint to be the heir anymore. We're gonna take away her right to the throne, and we're gonna give it to Maya.
Huh.
In a way that makes sense.
Is that a thing that can actually happen?
In real life, I'm not entirely sure, but I guess in this game it is. I mean, you know, there's a whole council and everything, so... I mean, they said, you know, the council agreed on this decision. Their father, the king, whom you never see in this game, even the king has agreed that this is a good idea. So, I mean, basically everybody has had enough of Mint.
Huh. Alright then.
Yeah. So that's why I didn't want to spoil anything when because that was like a big question you kept asking in Rou's playthrough was, God damn it, you're a princess. Why don't you have an army or anything? Well, she's not exactly entitled to one anymore.
Oh, dang it! You and your goddamn literature.
What the fuck? What hit her?
She summoned she summoned a pumpkin. So, big thing with Mint, you know, she's a spoiled rotten little bitch and everything, but she has a deathly fear of pumpkins. Like, she hates eating them. She doesn't want to be anywhere near them. I don't know why. It's never explained why she has a fear of pumpkins, But rest assured, she does. And this is something that gets abused quite often in this game.
Is her final boss a pumpkin?
No, her final boss is not a pumpkin. Although that would be fucking funny.
Final boss, the pumpkin.
So, in most games, this is the story of the beginning of a villain, which I guess, in Mint's case, probably is accurate. Just from what from what I remember of her.
Yeah, well, definitely more villainous behavior. Like, you know, her first goal, if anything, is she does want her right to the throne back. So she's like, I'm gonna find a relic that's gonna beat the crap out of Maya's, and I'm gonna take my throne back by force. And then once I have that, then I'm gonna go and just take over the world as well. So the world domination is the ultimate goal, but her immediate one right now, she just wants to get her throne back. Yep, she's been at this for 2 years, whereas Rue has been hunting the relic for 3 years, if I recall correctly. So Rue's been around for at least a year before Mint even got started.
You'd think 2 years of being on her own would help her smarten up a bit, but
Yeah, but you know, as I had said in Rue's playthrough, and no doubt what you and Ryan have experienced, you know, as much as I enjoyed this game, admittedly, like Rue's story, like Rue as a character, I feel was very dull. You know, it's like that's why I kind of started with him. You got more of the backstory behind, like, you know, the world building, about the relic, about the villain and stuff. Mint, you're not gonna necessarily get a lot of those details about, like, you know, Valen with the dolls and stuff. You know, you're not gonna get that in Mint's playthrough, but what you will get through Mint's playthrough is it's a lot more character driven. And I think this is why I actually prefer playing as Mint. I mean, you can just even tell through her body animations, like BJ, you remember how, like, Rue, he doesn't have a lot of body animations. Like, whenever he's talking, he's just kind of standing there.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Mint is very much expressive. So, tons of animations for her, which, given that this is a text-based game, I think kind of helps flesh out her personality. So, it's like, I love her animations. I love the fact that, you know, we have our hero is such a spoiled, rotten little bitch that, like you said, would be the villain, but is actually the hero. So it's like, that's actually a nice change of pace, especially for Square. So it's like, you know, I adore Mint so much.
Yeah, like generally for text-based games, it's always important to have expressive characters regardless of what kind of dialogue your game has, you know, voice or text. But for text-based games, it is very much important. You need, like, the characters need to have proper facial expressions. They need to have, like, and if you can't do proper facial expressions, then body movements is the next way to go.
Yeah, and this is where Rue really suffered, because yeah, Rue was, he may shrug, he may do a hand wave or something, and that's about it. Mint, meanwhile, it's like she shrugs her shoulders, she brushes her hair back, she stomps on the ground, she's throwing a tantrum. I mean, it's like there's so much more movements going on with Mint, which honestly I think I absolutely love. You know, and I think this really does add to her character, because it's like, could you imagine, like, you know, oh, I'm so spoiled and I want everything my way, but I'm just gonna stand like a fucking piece of wood. You know, it's like, not exactly gonna work.
Well, I mean, that sounds like majority of the rich folk here in America.
Alright. So, here's how, so, as I said, Threads of Fate suffers from what we call Sonic Heroes syndrome. So, basically, again, for those of you who have not played Sonic Heroes, that game was very infamous for, you have 4 teams of characters to pick from, and yet they go through the exact same levels, you know, with maybe minor differences, but it's the same levels, and you're basically playing the same game 4 damn times before you can even get the complete ending. This is kind of like that. So,
right, is it Sonic Heroes syndrome, or is it really Threads of Fate syndrome, since this came first?
I don't know. So, very little differences. Like, the majority of the maps and stuff we'll be going through will be the same. Combat differences, though. As you see here, Mint uses magic instead of the transformation. So, whereas Rue could only transform into, like, 4 monsters and is only given 2 attacks, Mint has an entire magic arsenal. So, when you open up that magic menu, right now we have white magic and blue magic, so light and water. And when you open up her magic menu, when you press left or right, that basically selects, okay, what color magic, like what element do you want? But not only do you pick what element do you want, you can also pick a number of effects. Right now we only have 2 effects, but you press up or down to pick which effect you want. So Mint basically has a lot more variety in her combat compared to Rue, who's just swinging an axe and maybe transforms into monsters. Mint's got a wide
Oh shit, you got mauled.
Yeah, Mint's got a wide magic arsenal, but another thing, when you hit jump and attack, she does a kick. Her jump kick is stupid strong. So it's like, yeah, Mint can be a little broken, if you play her very well. So, throughout this game, I will be collecting all of the magic colors as well as all the magic effects. So, you will be seeing her entire arsenal in action. But, but as I was saying, so, with Sonic Hero Syndrome, the vast majority of the levels in this game we've already experienced through Rue. So that being said, I will be doing this first area to its completion for the benefit of really showing Mint off, not necessarily showing the area off, because there's really nothing different here. For every area that we've already revisited, I'm going to show maybe like the first screen, and then I'm just going to start skipping ahead to skipping ahead in the story and everything. So if you want to see all these dungeons in their entirety, you're going to have to go back and watch the Rue playthrough, because I'm going to be skipping a lot of this.
Wait a minute. Didn't this exact thing also happen in Rue's story?
Yes.
Yes, it did. So in Rue's story, he had to transform into the little pollywog, and he tried to be like, okay, maybe I'll sneak attack. Not Mint. She's just gonna say, no, I'm just gonna kick you in the face.
So then wait a minute. Are these stories parallel, or are they alternate timelines?
I want to say probably alternate timeline, because the way this game plays out, it's not parallel or anything, just because, in this playthrough, Mint is the one that saved Elena. But whereas in Rue's playthrough, it was Rue, and we see a lot more of that. So, yeah, just treat this more as, they're not running parallel so much as just alternate.
Interesting. Now, I guess... that also said, bringing up how you brought up the Sonic Hero Syndrome thing, I personally don't mind games with that kind of formula, because generally the charm for games that do that isn't really the level of the stages. It's generally the characters you play as. Like it'd be one thing if the game makes you go through multiple stages over and over again with the same character, but no, normally the charm for games like this are the fact that you're playing as multiple characters. A great example I can actually think of is Kirby games do something similar to this, but as opposed to a story mode, generally what they do is that they have extra modes where you can play as a different character that goes through all the exact same stages that Kirby goes through, but whether it's for a speed run or maybe the missions, maybe the mission's a little bit different, but yeah, the charm is that you're playing as that specific character. I know Star Allies actually the recent Kirby game Star Allies, it has an entire mode where effectively you go through all of the levels that Kirby goes through in the story mode, but instead you can pick as any of the copy ability enemies, or the friends, I guess in this case, and play as them through all those levels. But instead of going around collecting everything that Kirby does, it's a speed run.
Okay. I guess that does kind of make sense, because I mean, it's like, again, going back to Sonic Heroes, probably a big reason why so many people, you know, coined that term is that, you know, yeah, there are 4 teams to choose from, and while yes, they have their own, you know, unique, they got their own unique missions, their own reasons for why they're involved in the story, but when you really get down to how the teams play and with all the levels,
oh no, they're the exact same.
They are damn near identical, which is
like there was so few differences in Sonic Heroes. This is why it didn't really work as well with them, because it's like what hell, Team Sonic and Team Shadow play it near identical.
It's like Team Sonic and Team Shadow, they're pretty much the exact same team, and then
Team Rose, and some differences. And Chaotix is probably the most diverse that I can think of in all their reality. But even then, they play near identical. Whereas in a game like this, you know, we have Rue and Mint who play very differently.
Yeah.
And then
that's actually a good point. I never really considered that. I mean, even though I just said I went into detail about why I love Mint as a character, it's like that probably is like, you know, I guess you could say like a step up from Sonic Heroes. I mean, there are some unique areas and stuff that we get in Mint story that you don't get in Rue's, but they're so few and far between. And it's like, you know, oh, I'm going back to the underground ruins. Oh, now we're going back to Fancy Mill. Oh, now we're going to Raging Mountain. And it's like, you know, it's the same areas over and over again. It's like, god damn it.
Yeah, but
this is a step up from Sonic Heroes. Before Sonic Heroes even came out. The fuck?
Like, the charm really does come from the fact that you're playing as a different character. Oh, hey, fucker. Anyway, but it's like,
Hi, Axe. Wait.
I'm sure you guys may... I don't know if you guys remember or not, but by the end of Rue's story, I just stopped caring about Rue. I really don't like him. But in which case, the charm is from being able to play as the multiple characters. I mean, think of it this way as well. Going back to Sonic even, when you play a game like Sonic, you know, Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, you know, what do people do a lot of the time with that game? You know, sometimes they'll play through the whole game as Sonic, but then there'll be a time where they'll go back and play through the whole game as Tails, and then they'll go back and play through the whole game as Knuckles. Like, the charm is because those characters, they may play somewhat similarly, but they also have enough differences to them where those unique abilities of the character is enough to merit a completely unique kind of gameplay experience, even if you're going through all the same stages.
What did you say that's also along the same line? Would you technically say games like Sonic Adventure 2 fall under that same category too?
I would say no.
No, because you don't go through all the same stages in that game.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, while yes, you have, you know, Shadow and Sonic play identically, and you know, Rouge and Knuckles and Eggman and Tails play identically. They do have their own unique levels. So it's like, it's not like you're going through City Escape with Shadow.
Right. Oh, okay. I figured as much. Okay.
It's one of those things where it's like, either if you're gonna have characters that play identical but are different characters but play identically, they need to have unique stages. But if you're gonna have all the stages be the same, you need to have the characters each unique enough to merit a unique gameplay experience, even if you are going through all the same levels.
Right.
And that's why I think games like Kirby, or even like recent Kirby games, or even those old Sonic games once Tails was introduced, you know, are, well, maybe not Sonic 2, because Tails played exactly like Sonic in that game, but Sonic 3 and Knuckles, really, I should be saying.
Yeah.
Games like that's why those games work so well with that kind of departure.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, with games like Sonic 3 and Knuckles or whatever, it's like, you can play to the same levels, but it's like with characters like, say, Knuckles, it's like, if they're like alternate pathways that you can gain access to only if you play as Knuckles, then that's a great advantage. That's a great way to take advantage of a character's different abilities compared to the other one. Like,
that's where the whole concept.
Fast.
Yeah, that's where the whole concept of replayability comes in. Like, you know, when you have a game with good replayability, generally are generally games that it doesn't matter how many times you play them, you're always guaranteed, or at least have a good chance to have a unique experience going through it.
here's actually an example of something different with Mint stories. So, at this part, if you recall, with Rue, we beat the gargoyles, and then we would take advantage of Rue's ability to shapeshift, because there was a gargoyle on that bench. You just transform into the gargoyle, you face it, and there's the stairs. Because we don't transform as Mint, you have to beat both the gargoyles, but you have to beat them at the same time. So, like, if you beat one gargoyle, but then focus on the next one, the first one's going to revive. So you have to, so just do like what I do. Go all the way back and just, beat both the gargoyles together with the magic. So, same puzzle, like similar puzzle, but different outcome. So it's like, that's a nice little example. And, that being said, though, again, examples like this are very few and far in between, which is why I'm going to be skipping, after this video, I'm going to be skipping a lot of the dungeons in Mint's playthrough. So we will be getting through this a lot quicker compared to Rue.
All right.
But yep, same boss as always. Just beat it with. Beat the horse, and that's it.
Nuke it. Beat the horse. Yeah, nuke it with magic.
Yeah, pretty much. The cutter effect that I got going with the blue magic, that actually does pretty well.
Okay.
But anyway, going back to what you were saying.
Well, like, a big example of replayability, because it's like, there are multiple times where people will play the same game over and over again, but then will sometimes do different things in the game to kind of help merit the idea of it being different. Like, Pokemon's really good at that, because you can play the same Pokemon game hundreds of times, but always have a unique experience because you can make your team different, like different every single time when you do so.
Right.
Like, Sonic Heroes suffers from this because I think the biggest reason why Sonic Heroes suffers and why it's an example of doing that formula wrong is because of the fact there's a final story. There's a final story where you have to play all 4 of the characters' stories in order to unlock it to fully beat the game.
And throughout the course of playing through all 4 teams, you also need to, be sure to get, like, the key within the second act of each stage or whatever.
Well, it's not even really so much chaos. It's not so much that because there are other Sonic games that do that. The problem is that the real problem is that you still have to go through the game 4 times, and that is pretty draining.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. But at the same time, though, it's like you also still need to collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds. Like whether you just collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds with just one team, or gather the 7 Chaos Emeralds over the course of playing through all 4 teams. That's how Sonic Heroes works.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that I don't think is really a part of. Well. Again, that wouldn't be there at all if there just wasn't a final story. I feel like in that, Sonic Heroes probably would have been received a little better if there weren't a final story. That, or like, it was one of those games where it's like, where like that, or maybe that final story was there, but as opposed to it being an unlocked thing that you have to do after beating for 4 chapters, make that a part of each character's like main story, and that final story is just how each story ends. So that way you can just you just pick whatever team you want to use, and then just go through that story, and then you get the whole experience that way.
Right. Yeah. Whereas like with Threads of Fate here, really like you do want to play this game like once with Mint and once with Rue. Admittedly, all it really does is when you've beaten the game with both characters, you do get like a special ending cutscene like after the credits, and that can only be accessed when you beat the game with both characters. And it's like, that's really the only reason why, if anything, why you should need to play through with both characters, is just to see that ending cutscene. Take that what you will, because I know, some people really dig that, because it's like, yeah, I want to see, the whole thing, but then there's going to be your people like, I went through that twice and all I got was a movie? Really? Like nothing, no other extra unique thing or whatever. Like, actually, I take that back. you know, there is an ending cutscene, but then you also get like a new game plus, which is where like, especially like with Mitt, for example, yeah, you can play through the game again, but now you get to keep all your magic. So now you're broken as fuck. But that's but that's it. There's no unique dungeons, no unique boss battles or anything that take place in the new game plus. So it's like there technically is a new game plus. There technically are rewards for beating this game with both characters. But I don't know, it's kind of, I don't know, I think it's kind of paltry in my opinion. But I mean, regardless, I will be showing the ending cutscene, you know, at the end of this playthrough because, of course, I get it. But that's really just about it. So, I mean, there's no, okay, we're done, but hey, we got some additional content afterwards. You know, Threads of Fate doesn't have, there's none of that. None of that to be offered.
Yeah. Oh, well. What's going on here?
It's pretty much pretty much exactly like what was going on in Rue's story. So it's like, okay, we got a key and we got like a book, and they're like, all right, we're gonna go. We got everything, so now let's go back to town and, you know, take a look through everything. So yeah, that's just pretty much what's going on here. So as I said, you know, this is really the only video where I'm going to show all of like a dungeon in its entirety. So I showed the first area, Corona Forest, so you guys can actually see like, okay, this is Mint in action. As for what I'm cutting out, I'm going to be cutting out the majority of dungeons. What I will be including will be, you know, narrative stuff. If there's anything like as far as like collecting treasures or magic effects or magic colors, I will be showing those off. Otherwise, as you'll be seeing in the next video and here on out, be prepared for a lot of jumping around.
Alrighty.